Da 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 da. So I have just got back from seeing the Deep Space Nine documentary, What We Left Behind, in the movie theaters. It was a one night showing thing. So I just thought I'd come on here real quick and just talk about it. Let me just adjust the camera up a little bit. Oh, there we go. Because, yeah, I got Deep Space Nine on the mind. I just reviewed, just watched every episode of Deep Space Nine over the past couple of months, and then I went out and saw this neat, nifty little documentary about it, and I thought it was really cool. Now, I'm not going to get into any spoilers. I mean, it's a documentary, so maybe you might consider some light spoilers because I'm going to mention a few things they said in it, but, you know, not too heavy. But I actually thought that I was expecting a bit more dirt. I was hoping for more dirt and some more like behind the scenes, like, struggles or arguments or fights and stuff, particularly in the writer's room. But it didn't really focus on that. And, I wanted more juice for my videos. But it didn't really focus on that, and that's fine. It focused on the actors a bit, and it was a good like tribute to Deep Space Nine. It just analyzed the hit that it had on the impact it had on the culture, how it was sort of underrated when it first came out, and how nowadays it's like gained popularity because of streaming services, because it's actually a bit more suited for streaming services. So if you don't know, Ira Stephen Bear, who was the showrunner from season 3 to season 7, he basically helped create this documentary, and he was the host of it. He did the interviews and stuff, and they've been making this for, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years or something. And they had some crowdfunding on Indiegogo and stuff like that to increase the budget. And they released it in the theaters just for a one night screening, one night only, around the U.S. nationwide at select theaters, and happened to be playing at several theaters close to where I was, which I was grateful. So of course I went and saw it. Just one showing, one night only, but it will be coming to DVD, I believe, next month, where you can order it online through their website. Get the DVD, which I might actually, because they talked about a couple of bonus features of some deleted stuff that wasn't in the actual film that I kind of want to see. So I don't know, and maybe it would be just cool to have it on DVD. But it was really cool to see it in the theaters, mainly because they remastered like all the clips of Deep Space Nine that they showed in this documentary. They remastered it to HD, to high definition, and seeing those clips of Deep Space Nine in high definition on the big screen was amazing. Like I was just drinking it in. I was just sinking it in, because that is a unique experience. Even though it wasn't like the entire episode, I almost wish that they would have, instead of making a documentary, they just did like an episode like Sacrifice of Angels or something, and just put it on the big screen for one night only and in high definition. I still hope they do that. That would be amazing. But they had that clip from Sacrifice of Angels with the battle scenes in high definition. Seeing that on high definition on the big screen was awesome. I know I'm geeking out, a bit of a DS9 nerd, but God, that was so good. And usually I'm not one to really care much about high definition, low definition. Usually if I'm given the option to watch, if like I'm renting something from a streaming site and I'm given the option for low definition or standard, however they say it, I usually choose that because I don't want to pay more for high definition. But still, I love Deep Space Nine so much that I could see the difference, and it was really cool seeing it like that on the big screen. Yeah, hold on. I hope you guys can hear me well in the chat. I'm just going to assume that you don't, because I don't see anyone in the chat yet. So I'll just assume that you guys can hear me. If not, then I'm just going to be talking for no reason. But anyway, so this I did enjoy the documentary a lot. Yeah, it didn't give. So what part of the feature of the documentary is like they had intermittent. They had the writers, like the five of the classic DS9 writers, get together in the writers' room and break an episode from a mythical season 8, and it's basically like a reunion episode. So they take place like they assume that it's going to be filmed like in modern times, and so it takes place like 20 years after or whatever, and they like animated segments of it has the writers are talking about what would happen, and it has the writers are breaking down the episode. They animate segments of it and throw music on it, that was pretty cool. I did enjoy that, but I will say that if that was the like reunion episode or the first episode of season 8, I wouldn't like it. I'm sorry. But then again, like, it's just the writers doing this for fun. Like, and it shows them in one day they come down and break the episode. So obviously, and they talked about this in the documentary, that if it was a proper episode, they would take a lot more time. They get more feedback and certain things would be changed about it, because I thought and you get their thought processes. It was really cool seeing the writers, because you could just imagine like this is how they were when they were breaking down an episode together, like classic DS9 writers, Aaron Stephen Bear, Robert Wolf, and Ronald D. Moore. Like, it was great seeing Ronald D. Moore in there, and yeah, like I'm not going to spoil what happens in this mythical episode for those who haven't seen it, but towards the end, I thought, oh, come on. They're retconning character. They did things to characters I thought was extremely out of character for the character. I'm like, for the shock value purpose of it. And I was like, that's kind of dumb. But I could kind of see, again, they weren't taking it too seriously. And it's just the writers like throwing shit out there. Oh, this would be really cool. What if this happened? And as I said, if it was an actual episode, I'm sure that they would like put more thought into it and refine it a bit more, but it was still cool to see. There was a character death of a main character that I was fine with it. That's the one thing that acted, oh, everyone's gonna hate us for this. I didn't hate them for that. I hated them for other things. But yeah, so that was really cool. It was cool to see. Other than that, like, they just highlighted, like, it was really interesting hearing them talk about the certain like social issues that Deep Space Nine covered, like the past tense. That had a whole thing about the homelessness and stuff like that. And also, it was interesting the segment it did on the LGBT community, because I talked about it on my own channel about the episode Rejoin and how much I love that episode and how much impact I think it had. And it was interesting because they brought that up, but you saw Iron Stephen Bear sort of saying that he didn't think that was enough. He thought that he should have done more. And the other guy who was making the documentary was like, well, would they have let you done more? And he's like, well, probably not, but I didn't check. I didn't even try. So that was very interesting. And specifically, he said that they should have made Garrick gay. And because I talked about this in my other like coverage of Garrick of Deep Space Nine, that originally the actor who played him, Andrew Robinson, he kind of talked a bit about this in the documentary. He originally played Garrick in that first scene as pansexual, but when they brought Garrick back, they got a note from the network not to do that, to cut that out. And Andrew, it's funny because in Andrew Robinson's mind, the character of Garrick was still gay, and his original attraction or his original like friendship with Bashir was based on his feelings of wanting to have sex with him. And that's really interesting to get that background. And it's interesting that Aaron Stephen Barris thought that he didn't do quite enough. And the other guy's like, what? Rejoined was a really good episode. He's like, yeah, it was. But I didn't do enough. And just other things they talked about in the documentary. Hey, see, still no one in the chat. Okay. Well, probably won't be on here very long since no one's joining me in the chat. But it is quite late. It's almost midnight here, so maybe that explains why. But anyway, so Yeah, oh yeah, they had this thing where they were talking about, and this is, I guess, kind of spoiling a bit what they said in the documentary, but it was talking about how, and I think I might have actually heard about this before I saw the documentary, but it was cool to see the interviews where Nana Visitor was saying that the biggest disagreement that she got into with Iron Stephen Bear was when he told her that he was wanted to do an episode where she had an affair with Gold Dukat, and she was like adamant that no, no, you can't have this character have an affair with Gold Dukat, and that she got like really angry about it, and that he came back and was like, okay. Ducat's not going to have an affair with you, but is going to have an affair with your mother. And so that leads to the episode Ron's Darker Than Death or Night, which I had on my worst list. I hated that episode. So I think the whole thing was all around was a bad idea that Iron Stephen Bear should have just dropped. Personally, I personally feel that. So I think Nana Visitor was totally in the right to fight that, because what a stupid idea to to try to make Kieran Ducat like that. That would just defy all the characters. And it seems like, and now I'm more convinced after watching this documentary though that it wasn't just Ronald D. Moore who liked to retcon and change characters. It was also Iron Stephen Bear. I think both of them were sort of bad with not actually sticking to what characters should do in order to have shocking television. But to be fair, like Deep Space Nine didn't actually, that wasn't a fault of the show too much, except for the whole Bashir genetically enhanced thing, which they didn't even talk about in this documentary. Reason why, and of course, is the whole Vic Fontaine. They did talk about him, and they had a lot of like the opening and the closing credits was a couple of the actors doing lounge singing type songs. They had to start out with it, Max, whatever his name is, who plays Rom, singing a song, and then they had at the end they had a couple other actors like Jeffrey Combs and Casey Biggs join him, and I was just like, yeah, that's dumb. That's when I went up and went to the bathroom actually, because I was like, I'm not interested in that. But the rest of the doc, I think it was a fun, like I was expecting it to be more about something more specific, or to be sort of breaking shit that I'd never heard of before, and it didn't. But it was very entertaining. It was very fun. Like it had some laughs in it and some interviews, and I love how it was made. It was geared towards Deep Space Nine fans who know the episodes by name, fans who are intimately familiar with the show. They don't try to really dumb it down for general audiences. I absolutely love that. Like the ending credits was amazing, because they had while the credits were on, they had like Nana Visitor and Ira Stephen Bear like cracking jokes and talking about like naming some great episodes and how come this wasn't in the documentary and stuff. And that was great. And because you had to be a Deep Space Nine fan to sort of get those jokes and to get what they're talking about that. And I love that. I love that there was something catered specifically to Deep Space Nine fans. Oh, still no one in the chat. Okay. Well, well, I guess I won't be on here for very long. So, when it comes out next month, if you are a Deep Space Nine fan at all, I would highly recommend that you get it. Oh, the one other thing I wanted to talk about with this documentary is our Stephen Bear as getting back to like the mythical eighth season thing. Like, I actually preferred the novels that take place after Deep Space Nine. And again, because these guys, it was just a fun exercise. They didn't really have time to refine it. Where I'm sure the novelists had many months to work on it and refine their story. But part of the thing is that, and Iron Steve Barry even said in this thing in the documentary about how his pride, it was something he was very proud of, was the fact that Bajor never joined the Federation, which I actually thought was stupid. I thought Bajor should have joined. Apparently, for some reason, he was like deathly against that and think that the Federation is like this evil, like, and Bajor should remain independent or whatever. And I really don't agree with him there. And so that spilled through. It's like 20 years later, and Bajor is still not a part of the Federation. In fact, they're a bit at odds, and this little And I didn't like that. I think the books had it much better that Bajor finally did join the Federation, because I think they should have. I think it would have made a lot more sense. And yeah, I can't get into any more detail about why I didn't like that first episode of season 8 without getting into spoilers, but it was a bit cheesy. I'm sorry, but again, it's just a fun exercise, and no, they weren't really being serious. And I think the chances of them ever actually doing a Deep Space Nine revival are extremely low. The opinion my opinion of them getting a chance to do Deep Space Nine revival in real life is so low that they'd have to try very hard indeed to disappoint me. I don't know if that really works, but anyway, yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was great, and of course, they had different segments talking about different aspects of the show, like the Dominion, the origins, and they had a little bit about each character. Good. It's a very good comprehensive, very good tribute to Deep Space Nine. Don't expect any big revelations or hidden dirt or anything like that, but it's a nice tribute. Let's see. Oh, finally, people in the chat. We got Philip Lowe Presti saying, I just watched it, loved it. Absolutely. Fun time. And Death Saw saying, excellent take so far, really digging it. Thanks. And Philip also says that whole thing where he was proud Bajor stayed out of the Federation, that was weird. Always bugged me since that was the basic premise of the show. Absolutely. Absolutely. And he seemed to, because they made that the premise of the show before he became the showrunner. So it seems like he didn't like that aspect of the show. When he came in, he was purposely trying to balk at that, which I don't get. I really didn't understand that. I think it made more sense. Anyway, yeah, so that's all I have to say about this documentary. Hopefully I didn't spoil it too much. And if you haven't seen it, highly recommend getting it on DVD when it comes out, I believe, next month. It was such a fun night out. And it's a shame, though. I mean, I can't recommend you see it in the theaters because I think it was a one-night only thing. But if it's possible to, it was just so good seeing the revised episodes clips from the show on HD. I really hope that they do an event where they show an episode like Sacrifice of Angels or something like that, or in the big screen on HD. That would just be fucking amazing. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about this documentary. Just be sure to check out my channel. If you haven't watched my coverage of Deep Space Nine, I covered every episode, one season of time, Deep Space Nine. Plus, I just did my top 50 favorite episodes, my top 30 worst. Check this out if you haven't. Also, in next month, I'll be moving on to a show I like a lot less, Star Trek Enterprise. But anyway, be sure to check that out, and also check out my channel as I cover many other things like Game of Thrones, The Expanse, and whatnot. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.